probably says a lot about where Manchester United and Liverpool are up to these days, that the Reds can go to Old Trafford and be bitterly disappointed to come away with just a 2-2 draw. But that's where they find themselves today, after a result that's put a bit of a dent in hopes of going on to lift the Premier League title this season. And it is a disappointment for Liverpool, because 22 points separate these sides in the league table, and yet they've played each other 3 times this season, and Liverpool haven't managed to win one of them. 2 draws and a defeat has resulted in them, of course, costing them the chance of lifting the FA Cup and an opportunity to go to Wembley in the semi-finals. And could it be that the 2 draws in the league are what cost them the Premier League title? Liverpool fans will certainly hope so, but it's going to be hard to shake the feeling, really, that they threw it away and really put in a performance that wasn't good enough today at Old Trafford. I mean, you look at the statistics here and they show that Liverpool really should have had this one wrapped up. 28 shots they took to Manchester United's 9, generating 3.59 expected goals to Manchester United just 0.71. 7 big chances to United's 1 as well. And yet they've come away with a share of the spoils, a 2-2 draw. And really, Liverpool will look at this and think they've only got themselves to blame, because they were given a lot of warnings in the FA Cup game that these sides contested just 3 weeks ago, that, you know, how United were going to approach this, and that approach can work, and that, you know, when you're on top, you've really got to take your chances. But Liverpool just didn't do that, and I mean, they were wasteful with their chances. And then also, you know, in moments when they were dominating the game, it felt like they weren't ever fully in control, and it was very similar to the FA Cup game in that sense. Now, they didn't give up quite as many opportunities to United in this one. They were a bit better at controlling Manchester United's threat, but not completely. It never felt like they were, you know, completely penned in, or it only felt like they were ever a couple of passes really away from being into a dangerous counter-attack, which, you know, Liverpool dealt with those better. But it's still, I think that was the big issue, really, is that even when Liverpool were on top, they didn't feel relaxed, and that is why you saw some sort of erraticness in the finishing, and they never really seemed cool-headed or have ice in the veins in the moments when you need it. And I think that control element I'm talking about is maybe underlined in another one of the statistics. So the starting midfield 3 contested 24 ground duels today and only won 8 of them, which I think just shows you that, yes, Liverpool were on top and they were generating a lot more shots than Manchester United, but they weren't winning physical battles in those 50-50s in the middle, and that always just kept giving United encouragement. So even when Liverpool were 1-0 up, it still felt like United can be back into this, and obviously so it proved. And in the end, they go on to get themselves 2-1 up as well, which, you know, Liverpool probably couldn't believe the position they found themselves in. You know, having been so dominant, particularly in that first half as well, to come away and find themselves trailing. Now, in the end, of course, Liverpool do get back into it and get the penalty that's put away to claim a draw, which is definitely less disastrous than a defeat, you have to say, in terms of what it does for the confidence, and to, you know, you get 1 point closer to the finishing line as well, don't you? But, you know, we'll have to see whether that is actually a costly draw for Liverpool, because obviously it leaves Arsenal top of the league on goal difference now, and Liverpool need a favour from someone else, someone to beat Arsenal if they're to be the ones who go on and lift the Premier League title. So some nervy weeks ahead for Liverpool. It's no longer solely in their hands unless they go on and beat someone 10-0 in the coming weeks, which, you know, looking at the finishing today doesn't look particularly likely, if I'm honest. But, you know, there's no doubt they'll come away from this one, be absolutely disappointed, and feel like it's a huge missed opportunity to get a statement win over their rivals that would have put them in a really healthy position in terms of the Premier League title race as well. So we'll have to see how costly this ends up being, but it feels in the moment, you know, like not a very good result for Liverpool, to be honest. Now, I go through the players' performances individually and start with the goalkeeper, Kevin Kelleher, and I don't think you can criticise him around either of the goals he concedes. I mean, obviously it's an error that in the build-up to the equaliser, and he's completely out of position there. Nothing he can do to save it, and his positioning is aggressive, because that's what Liverpool want the goalkeepers to do. They want them to be really high up the pitch. They want them to, you know, be available as a sweeper, but also as a passing option as well, alongside the centre half. So, you know, it's not poor positioning from the keeper, and the Mainu finish as well is a great curler into the top corner. It's not one you would expect the goalkeeper to save. I mean, it's fair to ask the question, would Alisson have saved it? Maybe. He's absolutely ridiculous, isn't he? Possibly the best goalkeeper in the world, but I wouldn't criticise Kelleher for too much for that one. And I thought generally his handling was good in the game, and his use of the ball as well. So a decent performance whereby he just wasn't really that busy at all. You know, United didn't produce enough threat to keep him busy. So and he can't take any blame, I'd say, around the goals. Now, move into the defence now and start at right back with Conor Bradley, and I thought he sort of summed up Liverpool's approach in the early stage of the game. He goes in quite rashly and picks up a yellow card really early in the game, and that makes it difficult when you're a player like him who likes to get involved in challenges. To get a booking at Old Trafford early in the game is, it makes it really difficult for you. But to be fair to him, thought he kind of dealt with that quite well. I mean, he wins 5 out of his 10 ground duels, so he was, in the defensive side of the game, I thought he did a decent job. But what I hoped to see more from him, one of the reasons I picked him in my starting 11, in my predicted 11 for this one, was that I thought, the threat he can create on the other side of the ball going forward, and I just don't think he did enough or did well enough on that side of the game today, to be honest. That it's a big pitch at Old Trafford and there's opportunities to get forward, and I thought that maybe he would really have a bit of a field day down that side, linking up with Salah and finding spaces. But one chance created, he only completes 79% of his passes, which is quite poor for him. So he didn't really do enough on the attacking side of things, which is the reason I would have said maybe he would have been picked over Gomez, because he's slightly more of a threat, I think, going forward, but just didn't quite show that side of his game. But I thought decent defensively as well, not to sort of, you can't really blame him around any of the goals, I don't think, and I thought a decent performance from Conor Bradley. I'd just say he didn't help himself by getting that booking early, but I thought he did cope with that well. Now I just move into the centre halves as well now and talk about Jarell Quansah, and the obvious thing to start with Quansah is the equalising goal. It's a poor, uncharacteristic error from him. We've not really seen that sort of thing from him, have we, so far this season? And it's a shame it's come in such a massive game and in a big moment, and particularly when Liverpool, because they were 1-0 up as well, it just gave United that encouragement, didn't it? Brought them back into the game, and then they go 2-1 ahead not long after that as well. So that's really, really disappointing. It's interesting actually that Quansah was picked ahead of Konate, because I think that's a big call from the manager. It doesn't look like that was a fitness issue, because I can't imagine that Konate would have been on the bench if he wasn't fit to play. So he would have probably been available to start. So why he's made that decision, I'm not quite sure, because I think, although I thought Quansah played quite well, I mean, he wins 4 out of his 4 duels that he contests, 2 out of 2 tackles as well. So you can almost put the error aside and say that he actually had a decent performance in the whole. But I think Konate's pace against United's threat on the counter would have been, would have helped limit that even further, I think. And the reason it sort of felt sometimes like United were only ever a couple of passes away from being in on goal is because Quansah, he's not the quickest off the mark. He's quite quick once he gets going, but he's not got that electric pace off the mark like Konate does. And I think sometimes they were knocking those balls down the side to Rashford, and Quansah was just didn't want to get out there aggressively, because he just wanted to give himself the space to run into if he had to get back. If he didn't want to leave himself in a difficult situation by being too aggressive on Rashford, and then if he beats you once, he's absolutely gone. Whereas Konate's got a better chance of getting back in there. So I thought that was a strange selection from the manager. Maybe we'll hear about a slight niggle for Konate that meant he couldn't start, but it was an interesting one. But as I say, I don't think Quansah played poorly at all, but that error is a key moment in the game, and there's no getting away from that. That's a moment that proves really costly for Liverpool in this one, and you do not want your defenders to be giving up goals in that way, even though it's an unbelievable finish from Fernandes as well. You've got to give him credit for that one. Now, alongside him, Virgil van Dijk, and all I've really written here is he was barely involved in the game, and I think that's true. He didn't have an awful lot to do, really. He wasn't involved in a lot of duels. I think, as we see every week, United sort of pulled on to Quansah. They always try and get down the other side. They don't want to go anywhere near Virgil van Dijk because they know how good he is. But I thought, everything he did well. Could he have maybe got a little bit more involved in terms of bringing the ball out a bit more? Could he have used his passing a bit more? Perhaps, but again, you really are picking hairs when you think that Liverpool were kind of dominant for most of the game, and didn't really give up a lot in terms of shots or opportunities to Manchester United. So, Virgil van Dijk, I thought it was a quiet game, but not in a bad way at all. I thought he just didn't have an awful lot to do in this one, which doesn't always happen. It's not always usually that easy to cruise through games as a defender when you can see 2 goals in them. But he just didn't. Yeah, the game wasn't really around him or near him for much of this, and I think that was maybe a tactic for Manchester United. To be honest, a lot of their threat on the counter was that left hand side of theirs through Rashford, so out of Van Dijk's way really. And I'll just finish up the defence by talking about Andy Robertson. I thought a decent performance from him. 4 chances created, wins 3 out of his 4 ground duels. I thought his crossing sometimes could have been a little bit sharper, could have been a bit tidier. I think that's a bit of a theme of the performance, really. He's a little bit of a lack of care around the box at times, and he took on 2 shots as well in positions where he absolutely shouldn't be shooting. Robertson's not a finisher, and he never will be, and I think it's a couple of those shots you'd say that the manager would have looked at and said, I'm going to fine him for that one. It was so poor. So I think some of his decision making wasn't always perfect, but as I say, the numbers aren't too bad. 4 chances created, so he was laying on some shots, and I thought his energy down that side was really good. Dealt with everything defensively as well. Didn't do too badly in that regard. So not a poor one, but not absolutely outstanding from Robertson. And just moving to midfield now, and I think I've already touched on in this video that I think Liverpool did have some issues here. They were dominant in terms of controlling possession, but I just thought some of those 50-50s went against them, and that kept giving United encouragement. It's like moments where they would get in at the back 4 because the midfield weren't winning the duels. I often think about this, that sometimes Liverpool, the compactness that Jurgen Klopp wants in that central part of the pitch, it's kind of difficult to do it at Old Trafford because the pitch is so wide and so big. They seem to struggle to get the pressing game perfect, and I think you can see it in the numbers here. I mean, I'll start with Wataru Endo, 2 out of 8 ground duels won. He usually does so much better than that, and I think that the amount of space around him is what made it difficult. And he obviously just seemed to be late to the ball an awful lot, and sort of United were finding it easy to win those 50-50s and turning them into sort of 60-40s in their favour. And I just thought it was, it's interesting that Endo is, he's been so good recently, but I didn't think he was great in the FA Cup game in terms of bringing Liverpool control there. And similarly today, I didn't think he was great there either. And I think, again, like I say, I wonder whether the pitch is almost something to do with it. And another thing, with Endo's performance here as well, is that he only completes 79% of his passes, which is, really poor. We're used to seeing him in the high 80s, 90s for that statistic, and that shows that United press quite well in the centre of the pitch. They did put pressure on, but you would like to see Endo, because he's got quality on the ball. We know that he's not an unbelievable passer like Mac Allister, but he has got those abilities to fire short, sharp passes about. He doesn't usually give it away a lot. Maybe the pressure on him told a little bit in this fixture, and I just didn't think that was a great performance from him on both sides of the ball, and that was part of the reason United kept getting those counter-attacking opportunities. They didn't actually make the most of a lot of them, but I just thought that kept them in the game, kept them feeling that they were going to get chances, and made Liverpool feel nervous in moments, I think. So yeah, I didn't think a great performance from Endo, and I would say similar really of Szoboszlai, and possibly for different reasons actually. I mean, some of the similarities are there in terms of 1 out of 6 ground duels won. That is not very good, really. I would say for Liverpool's lack of control in midfield completely sort of came from that, really. That, as I say, the 8 out of 24 ground duels won from the midfield was a bit of a theme of the day, really, and was a reason that Liverpool really struggled. But it was the other stuff as well that I thought made Szoboszlai's performance look not too great, really. I mean, he creates 4 chances and takes 5 shots, but again, I think he was a bit symptomatic of that kind of lack of care around the box. Not great in those final moments. He misses 2 big chances as well. Liverpool needed cool heads in those moments in the box, and Szoboszlai, he got himself into so many good positions and didn't really use it. The final pass was a bit scuffed, or he didn't finish the chance when it was there. As I say, two big chances according to Opta's statistics, and he misses both of them. That is, in a game where you're coming away thinking, if Liverpool had taken the chances, he's as guilty as anyone really of missing them. And we know Szoboszlai's got that in his locker. He can finish, and he's there's so many positives to his game. But I think sometimes because he's a young player, he doesn't always put it all together. And I think that was today was one of those days really where it didn't really go for him. And I thought Endo struggled in midfield as well. So that added up to the whole midfield as a whole not quite functioning for me. But I will say I'll move on to Mac Allister and say I actually thought he was outstanding again. The shining light really in that starting midfield for me. I thought everything. I said that Liverpool only win 8 out of 24 ground duels. 5 of those ground duels were won by Alexis Mac Allister, and he wins 5 out of his 10. So getting around that 50% mark, you want to sort of be around that or just above it really in a decent performance. He wins 3 out of 4 tackles as well. 3 out of 4 aerial duels. He's not the biggest, but his timing is so good with his leap that he wins a lot of those headers. And I think he looked like Liverpool's most composed player in possession as well. So many of their best moments came when he was getting the ball in decent positions and he was being found. But I think some of Liverpool's struggles would sometimes to get him on the ball, but whenever they did, he looked so dangerous. And I've said, he's so influential for Liverpool, and I think if he could have been more involved in the game and Liverpool could have done more to find him, I think again, they would have played better. They would have done more with their opportunities. They would have created better quality of chances. Because I thought Mac Allister was class in everything he did today, really. And unfortunate that Liverpool don't get the win, because it certainly wasn't on the basis of his performance. Now, in terms of the basis of whose performance it was, I'm going to move into the forward line now, and to be honest, not a lot of great performances here, or possibly any really today. I think it was a bit of a struggle for the front line, and so many opportunities missed. And I mean, I'll start with Mohamed Salah. He takes six shots and creates 3 chances, so the numbers are pretty good. But again, lack of care around the box. He misses one big chance. That final pass was just overhit or underhit, or just giving the ball away. There's a couple in quick succession in the second half where he's just so loose with the ball, and United get on the counter attack straight after it, and it gives the crowd a huge lift. And you've just got to be more careful there. If you can't make the final pass and you can't make the opportunity, just keep the ball, recycle it, move it around. But he was just wasteful in those moments, I thought. To be fair to him, brilliant penalty in a testing moment of the game that could have set Liverpool up to go and win it, but unfortunately he didn't. But that's a pressure penalty in a big moment at a difficult ground, and he slots it away. So absolutely brilliant in that regard. But I didn't think a great performance from Salah, and as I said, I didn't think much of the performances from the front three really. I mean, I'll move on to Darwin Núñez today, and I think kind of says a lot, doesn't it, when your club record signing is being taken off when you need a goal in a game. That sub says a lot about the fact that, I mean, he's come so far this season, Núñez, and I've raved about his performances this season, and rightly so, because I think he's been fantastic for large parts of it. 30 goal contributions absolutely underlines just how important he's been for Liverpool. But I still think there's a couple more steps for him to go, which is maybe impacting this sort of game. He only completes 6 out of 12 passes. He misses one big chance, according to Opta, and I mean the chance as well. You'll remember it, where he kind of he gets caught between cutting the ball back or just finishing it. I think in that situation with the striker, I know it's on his weaker left foot. You want to see him just go for goal in that situation. It's a tightish angle, and the defender's getting back, but he should back himself to just put that in the roof of the net and finish it off from that close range instead of trying to pull it back. I thought it was a poor decision. It kind of summed up his day. He didn't, there was a run he went on in the first half where he's kind of 1v1 with the fullback and just slips and gives the ball away. A lot didn't really come off for him today. And as I say, I thought he's taken huge steps this season. He still gets 5 shots away and creates 2 chances as well today. So not all completely bad, but I still think, being dominant in these games and finishing off the chances in big moments, that's a little bit of something that Núñez can add to his game now. That's the next step for him. Big steps taken this season, but I thought, poor today. And, I'd like to see him have a big impact in a game like this in terms of providing a goal if he can. So, the wastefulness from the front three, he was part of that, and that's unfortunate. But as I say, don't want to be too critical, because I think he has done well this season, but I think he and the other parts of the front three are a big reason of why Liverpool don't win this game. And similar thoughts for Luis Diaz. I mean, takes his goal really well when it falls to him, and he's on a little bit of a run of sort of contributing in terms of goals, isn't he? Also creates 3 chances, 6 out of 10 dribbles successful as well, but he only wins 7 out of his 20 ground duels, which again, that was symptomatic across the entire pitch for Liverpool. That was something that was happening. Weren't getting over the sort of 50% mark in winning the ground duels. And there's a moment, I think, that summed up Diaz's performance where he has an opportunity to slide Salah in for basically a 1v1 in a counter-attacking opportunity, and he puts the pass just behind Salah. Salah gets the shot away in the end, but his effort is compromised because the pass is poor. It's not in front of him as it should be. It's slightly behind him, and I think again, that was a moment that so many players on the pitch had that kind of moment today, where it was the pass just wasn't right. The final moment of quality just wasn't quite there, and Diaz was really as guilty of that as anyone. But I think, and again, worked his socks off as we're absolutely used to with him, and he gets the goal that should set Liverpool up to go on and win the game. But they obviously, of course, don't. But as much as anyone else in that front three, moments of quality just weren't right or weren't quite there for him, and that's what's cost Liverpool, because he had so many, not just the shots and the chances they have that I've spoken about, but so many promising moments where it should have ended in a shot or should have ended in a goal even, and Diaz or Núñez or Salah just haven't picked the right pass or haven't put the pass with the right quality on it, and that's really what has cost Liverpool today, I would say. Now, I'll just have a quick run through the subs and talk about them. Gakpo coming on, I mean, says a lot that Núñez was taken off, and I thought Gakpo did really well when he came off the bench in midweek, and the hope was that we could take that confidence into this game, but didn't really impact the game in a telling way. 0 shots. Completes 9 out of his 11 passes, so slightly better than Nunes on that front, a bit more involved, but as I say, no shots, no chances created, so didn't really sort of provide the attacking impetus that Liverpool would have hoped for when they went with him. Joe Gomez as well, I thought he was decent when he came on. He sort of kept up that Bradley level, not absolutely out of this world in an attacking sense by any means, but defensively did his job, won his duels. He did try to get Liverpool's attack going. He was always trying to be there to be the extra man in the box and make that late arriving run if he could, and try and exchange with Salah and create space for others. So I thought he did a decent job of that, but again, when he got into crossing positions or he had that final moment of quality, is another player really who it didn't really happen for, to be honest. But he's a right back and you shouldn't be asking him to be coming up and absolutely running your attack. The others really should have taken the responsibility there. So I thought Gomez was decent when he came on. Curtis Jones, another one. I thought it was a great sub when he comes onto the pitch, in terms of, I thought he would add some control for Liverpool and help them sort of pen United in a little bit more, and he kind of did that. He completes 18 out of 19 passes, but he only wins 2 out of his 5 ground duels, and he's dispossessed twice in moments where he's holding onto the ball too long. One of the good things about Curtis Jones, I think, is that he holds the ball for a while sometimes and always waits for the perfect moment to play the pass, but he was kind of dilly-dallying on it a couple of times, and again, it wasn't just that he lost possession in those moments. It encouraged United. It got the crowd up. It made the game more difficult for Liverpool. So, I usually like Jones as a sub there to bring more control for Liverpool, but it didn't kind of work for him really in that sense today. I thought some of his passing was good, and it did stretch United and move them around a little bit. But as I say, those moments where he got dispossessed kind of undid some of his good work really in that regard. And I guess he's just back from injuries, and his sharpness isn't quite there. He possibly would have started this game actually if he would have been fully fit. So maybe we would have seen a different outcome if that was the case. But yeah, not his best sort of cameo. But that kind of contrasts to the one I want to finish up talking about, which is Harvey Elliott, who I thought was a real bright spot for Liverpool today, along with sort of Alexis Mac Allister really, in terms of his contribution to the game. Obviously, he comes on and wins the penalty, which is massive for getting Liverpool a point. But what I most enjoyed about his performance was that he seemed to understand more than any other Liverpool player on the pitch exactly how to play against United, in terms of, it was all about what Liverpool should have been doing more is penning them in and trying to move them around. Be patient, but also be patient and then wait for your moment, for the right moment of impatience to speed the play up, to get the ball into someone in space, to find a man, to find a little gap. And I thought he did that really well. I mean, he switched play in the right moments. He used little short passes, sharp and around with Salah. Those really nice exchanges got Liverpool in the box, and one of those actually leads to the penalty that he wins. So I almost look at Elliott's performance and wonder, would Liverpool have played a lot better, and would they have won this game if he'd started? Because I think he's been doing really well this season, and almost, as I say, he seemed to understand the brief more than anyone. He got Liverpool playing in that period when he was on the pitch, and if it had been a little bit longer, maybe they would have gone on and won the game, because I thought Elliott was having a really, really good impact. And he has a shot at the end actually that, if he catches it slightly better, that could have gone in and won the game, and he would have deserved to do that, because I thought he did really, really well when he came on. But obviously not enough time to completely change things in Liverpool's favour, and they have to be content with the draw in the end. So let me know what you thought of the performance today. How did Liverpool do? What does that mean for the Premier League title chances? Are you a little bit worried now that Arsenal or Manchester City are going to go on and win it, and that Liverpool have maybe blown it? Let me know what you think in the comments, and please do drop a like and subscribe if you can as well. That's always massively helpful. And of course, there's no rest of the wicked. The games are going to keep coming. There's Europa League next week as well, isn't there? And another Premier League game. Liverpool need to dust themselves off and get back on it to hopefully have a glorious finish to this season. So they can't dwell on this one for too long, and neither can I. So I will see you soon.